relax this time. Well, this, my friend, I'll make it to camp. And then he pulls out his little black book, and he says, I want you to know, Joe, I'm a tycoon. I got money in the bank. He said, I'm going to visit my sister up in Canada. I haven't seen her in 10 years. Then he made a sweeping bow of farewell and told Joe to get back to Forestport before he changed his mind and wanted to go back himself. The following day, J.B. thought a lot about Wheeler and wondered if he got in all right. He'd gone in different times in that shape, same as some of the rest of them did. He called up Gaspy, was supposed to be in the Gaspy was a little Frenchman. Gaspy was stayed up there. He had wife and 10, 11 kids up in Canada. He was staying in camp saving his money because that was going to be his last time on the woods. He was going to buy a farm in Canada and quit. But poor Gaspy died on the last log drive on the last day. So anyway, when J.B. called, he asked if Scott Wheeler had got in yet. And he said he was supposed to be in last night. And Gaspy said, well, he wasn't in yet. So that alarmed J.B. and he went immediately searching for him. It had turned cold that night, and there was some snow on the ground, and he found him laying on the tote road 2 miles from camp. And he evidently had fallen because it looked like he had tried to get up when there was scratches on the tree by where he fell. And he just couldn't get up, and that was the end of him. It was these bundled white aprons was covered with snow, and the empty whiskey bottle was not far away, and they never really knew what happened to him. The heart that had been so big and strong and had now failed him. The voice of Wheeler with a shining look and pet expression, now put your little hand in mine, was forever stilled. He had died alone in the woods. The forests, the mountains claimed him as their own. The sadness lay up all over the mountain. The lumberjacks couldn't believe that Wheeler wouldn't be there to do any more cooking. So it was a pretty sad time for him. And Wheeler and J.B. thought that maybe Wheeler could be buried in Forestport. But when the sister came, she decided to take him back to Canada to the family burying grounds. So Scudder got up. His eyes misted with tears as he handed her the little black book. You could hear Wheeler say, now put your little hand in mine. Yeah. And then the other stories, kind of too long. Tells about somebody coming, dragging one of the other fellows into camp. He had a swallowtail coat. This was Golke. He had a swallowtail coat, and he had his pants rolled up to his knees. He didn't have a shirt, but he had a necktie on. And an old derby hat. And that's all he had to show for this. So they got him into camp anyway, and all he wanted to do was find a place to sleep. So he laid down on the bed in the bunkhouse there, his hat rolled off on the floor, and his swallowtail coat hung over the side of the bed. And the next day they wondered if he would be back to work, and Mally, the Irishman, said, oh, sure, he would. He said nobody else but a Frenchman could come into camp with a swallowtail coat. So he thought the next day, if he was going to be to work, they better go up to town up on the hill and knows any, I have some that I don't have names on all of the men. If anybody knows, it might appreciate it. Putting it on.
Yesterday I was up to Dyson's Camp.
Will you?
Yes. And I
Did you
made,
get up to Manawan?
no, we got up where it's signed the mud hole or something. And on the way back, in the middle of the
You must
road.
have got by Dyson's first camp.
Yes.
Well, that's Patton. Our gate is up
I
higher.
saw that.
Well, now this gate is Patton's, but we're using Patton's gate because he didn't want anybody out on his land. So right now, we're all using Patton's gate to get up to the camp.
And coming back, in the middle of the road, believe it or not, there were 8 wild turkeys standing there.
Were they?
Yes, I've never in my life ever seen them. It's a right book. And to answer your question about prunes, I had a fellow tell me.
You did have to tell people about them, didn't you? Those are our pets. Leave them alone.
Are they?
We feed them guys corn in the
Excuse me, they all
winter.
flew away anyway. This fellow said when I was 10 years old, my mother was cooking in camp, and the boss told me to be sure to help her and get lots of wood for her, and he'd pay me well. And he said at the end of the summer or fall or whatever it was, he said he gave me $1.50. But he said that was all right. He said they had 2 big boxes of prunes in the storehouse, and I ate one of them. So, that was that.
We're talking about Drunkard's Brook. They cut big timber up there too way back. Merriam's owned most of that land up there because the land that we had up there we bought off of Merriam's. And the Lyman Iron Line was built up, came from timber from Drunkard's Brook. So they had big timber up there, then Merriam's owned a lot of land up there.
That was when a superintendent by the name of Jim Hill was up in that country. I guess and there was a fellow by the name of Greg, name of the company, Fred, was it Brooks? Greg was early day foreman of one hole up there. We have a gentleman here that came all the way down from Inlet, Eagle Bay. Was it Inlet, Howard? He just changed one wilderness for the other wilderness. Up where he was born was known as the Little Wilderness, Tug Hill. And the Adirondack was known as the Big Wilderness. Howard was born in Tug Hill, and he's retired up in Inlet. Howard, thank you for anything you have to contribute.
I'd be glad to answer questions. I mean, I didn't come prepared for a speech or anything. Not a
You
speech
were known as the road builder, weren't you?
We built a lot of roads.
Yes. Well, why don't you tell us what you did building those roads?
Oh, we moved the bushes and made wheel traffic.
Did you use that little water wagon that we saw in the film?
No, I mean, most of the work I did on landfill was summer roads. And then we maintained them in the wintertime. You know, but for trucks, you don't have to ice them. They get icy enough.
Howard knew exactly the pictures you could put on a road so the loaded truck would make it back there. And he'll squirt with 3 mile an hour, I call it. But you had 5 men, and the load come up the hill, and he's going to run out of power, he just couldn't make it. Those 5 men get behind that truck and push, he'd make it.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Many times we push trucks over that hill.
And sometimes that don't work.
I hooked onto one with a car that didn't work, the truck motor stalled, and we all went backwards.
And Howard, you also worked here at the Jackworks, didn't you?
Jack works here.
Yeah.
I worked here at the mill. Yeah, I worked in I run crane, same crane that Mac run for a long time here. And I worked right in this building. And there was a garage. Worked in the garage down. It was part of the mill, and the garage that was down on the center of Main Street. And
Howard, tell me that story you told us.
already told it to you.
I know.
You're telling it.
Oh, gee.
No, I don't know, that was real good.
Oh, one about
When they were gonna-
Frank Green?
Yeah.
No, Mike
When they were
was-
gonna, yeah, Mike.
Mike Green.
When they were gonna hang him.
I've worked on the road for a while. And when the job got done in the spring, the road was blocked way down below. So everybody could get down to the first pier joint. Everybody went down, everybody went down. After all, come back. And Mike Green was one of them. And he wouldn't shut up. And so they told him, shut up, Mike, we'll hang you. He wouldn't shut up. So this is up over the kitchen. So they put a rope up with a collar beam, put the rope around his neck. Now Mike, say your prayers. And Mike, he started saying prayers, and he started to cry, and he went to sleep, and they left. But I was scared that they was gonna hang him. Mike was kind of a mean old fellow, he was all the time playing tricks on somebody. There was a chance to get back at him.
You know, right in that same area up at Camp 4, being a cost-plus job, I don't see most anything. There, when you said the Irishman, made me think about it. He was a young fellow, he was probably 24, 25 years old, skinny. I thought he was skinny. And there were 3 Frenchmen there that didn't like it. They'd been there the whole winter. Everything was fine. We heard this great snap, 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 you know, on those poles and the rack. I'll be darned. You brought stuff into the blacksmith shop, and you know that week they're going to be done. I never could get that through my head until I got a little older and found out what a cost-plus job was. On that grade, there were 2 of those boxes of sleigh bolts marked 50 pounds. And the clerk, Nelson Bolts, and I were sitting on the clerk's step, right across, roughly as far from here to that door. There were 3 French fellows, and they were going to clean this Irishman's clock just as soon as we got that tray on. But on there was also a small end. I don't know what it was weighed. Well, he went over, and he picked up, the Irishman went over, and he picked up 1 box of bolts, he put it in his hand, he puts the other one on top of it, stuck that on his side, he took the handle, before ever he get a hold of it, and he walked over to the blacksmith shop. Frenchmen, they're changing their mind awful fast, out loud. And all the time, the clerk, he's interpreting for us. And he reached around, and the axes were right there, and he got a couple of handles. He says, we better just a little bit even, you know, when it first started. The guy came back. He used to come over and visit with us every night. He's coming back. The Frenchmen, they start going into the bunkhouse. He grabbed all 3 of them, and boy, did he work them over. Quick, right there. And then he started talking to them in French. All winter long, he's been listening to what they had to say, knew what they were saying, said nothing. Like he'd only talked English until right that day. He knew just exactly what they were up to.
Dorothy, somebody told me that you had some knowledge about the possibility one time of the Moose River coming down through your pasture and that little brook and going into Black River. What's the name of that brook? Was there any?
Baldwin.
What was it?
Baldwin.
Robert?
Baldwin.
Baldwin. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I tried to find the information because someplace I did find it where Lyman R. Lyon got an argument. What was that? And they tried to change Moose River so it would cross and come down Fall Brook. Who did he get in the argument with? I could not find it today. I looked and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find anything.
When the McKeever Dam went out, and some of the water come out
The
through
water
there?
came down Fall Brook and some of the logs also.
But there was a dam built there, wasn't it, that was blown up when they tried to change the course of the river, Moose River, bring it down Fall Brook. I was told it was a dam there, and not mentioning
and they were going to change it. The last time I was up there last year is since 1948, but the last log drive was 1947. And also, I'd like to say that there was a large sawmill on East Main Street, or what I call East Main Street, Fort Line, Thomas Rogers Sawmill. And they sawed all the lumber that was to be used in the plank road on 12D. And this plank road was built in about 1847 to 48. And it was, hemlock was used, and it was cut about 8 feet long and 3 inches thick. And it was laid crossways down through and made it into a road. I believe this was about the area where Donald Colton's father lived. Am I right, Don?
There was some logs, I know, taken out of there at one time by the state that, where there was a bump in the road. Those were elm that were taken out at that time, though.
Were they? I told little Joe when this started, I said, I am not a speaker. I will not speak. I will come and sit with you. Yeah.
I think you did very well. Before I get with Ed, I'd like to read a few little items that aren't very well known. But Len Ager lumbered, and he had a lot up at Otter Lake, Lot 5, which was 2,500 acres, out of, I think it was Pickett's land. And he had a siding on the railroad, on the Old Montreal and Malone Railroad there at Otter Lake, where he shipped out the cherry and the birch. He also had a pond built there, and the fellow told me that he used to keep the cherry and the white birch in the pond for a year. And I said, well, why did you do that? He said, because after a year, both of those logs would get red, and you could collect twice as much money for them as the going rate for just cherry and white birch. And that was a pretty good idea, wasn't it? We heard about the spruce here that got sawed up because nobody wanted it, and he made these logs to put them in demand. The first tractors in the Adirondacks were used at Partlow in 1925 by Davigon and Williams, who subletted the hauling and skidding by Johnny Johnston. The same year, Brandon used Land tractors and Holt tractors. Also, in 1940, chainsaws were used the first time at Jerseyfield, first time the Adirondacks by Johnny Johnston, who had a repair shop on the job. There were 40 chainsaws in operation there. And he also had a repairman who was trained by, I can't think of the name of Liverpool, Lamb in Liverpool. Also, when he hired a bookkeeper, as I recall, he hired my brother-in-law, Tommy Donnelly, he sent them down to Utica School of Commerce for training before he took on the job. So there was several firsts there by Johnny Johnson, by the way. And there was one other first in 1929 at the job at Meacham, the first time that they had truck roads going through the skidway. Now I have a list that I've been preparing of jobbers, wood bosses, and the companies. And I'm going to leave them out here. Dorothy, I promised you. I'm gonna leave them out here with various pictures. If any of you can, when you come up, can read those and add to them, sure appreciate it. Because I suggested that it'd be nice to have a plaque with the names of these jobbers. I don't know where they were jobbers or where they were foremen, but that's not material. When the Keystone Chemical Company was working in Glenfield, that was, I think, about 1922. A fellow by the name of John Mahaffey, who lives in Boonville, worked for a company in Utica who sold Lynn tractors, and he drove the Lynn tractors for the steam mill at Branningham, as his son told me. And he hauled soft maple from the steam mill to Burdick's Crossing, where it was then trucked to Keystone Chemical to be made into wood alcohol. His brother-in-law, Pearlie Babcock, who ran a store I knew very well in Boonville, was also connected with a fellow by the name of Boonville, by the name of Mark Jocelyn, who had another job in Keystone Chemical up by the Glenfield and Western in Tuck Hill. And their camps for their jacks were 2 Pullman cars. That was again about that year, about 1920, 22. Those are a few firsts that I don't believe many people know about. And now, Ed, what have you got to tell us?
Well, I don't know.
Ed is one, excuse me, Ed is one of 3 brothers, Carl and Norm. We're all foresters.
Yeah, we're all in the woodlands department here. And paper company, et cetera. And, no, I came to work in 1951 in the woodlands department. And most of the 50s I spent in the lime kiln country. And the old company softwood camps were, the last of those were in the 40s there, shortly after maybe 47 or 48. And after that, the ones I'm familiar with are the ones who logged after that. And there was some horse logging, and there were lumber camps, but it was all trucked out rather than the river drives. The last river drive was in 47. That was the pictures that I took of that. In the last when they had the log jam here up at Lionsdale. But some of the big jobbers there were Lime Kiln, Leonard Clawcat, Gordon Laporte, George Robotoy, Johnny Johnston. He cut part of Township 4, cutting across field. When I went up there, that was all virgin timber, Township 4, cutting across field. They never cut the spruce in there when they had the company camps. Township 5, most of Township 5, and Township 3, Moose River Tract, and part of Township 4, Moose River Tract had been cut for softwood, but very little hardwood had been cut up there. Hardwood was all virgin timber. And Law Brothers, George Calvin, Webb Lumber Company, Rice Veneer, Joe Kwasniewski, got the Emerson Triangle and some of the rest of the country up there. Norman and Rocker cut Red River, Adrian Dupree, Noel Rumble cut 7th Lake Mountain, and Penny Leindecker cut way over in the southeast corner of Township 4, cutting across the slope down towards your country.
Cut hardwood out of
That was
cross.
that was one of the last jobs that was in there. And then Strife, when I first came to work, Strife also cut on the John Brown track. The blowdown, I believe that was the last day of deer season in 1950. That was November 25th, and there was about a 20,000 cord job there between Copper Creek and Twin Sister Creek. That was all virgin timber. I used to hunt in there prior to that, and that was completely wiped out. George Calvin went in there, and that was the last logging camp on the Browns track for softwood. And that was all horse log. And then Clarence Strife cut the hardwood. And a lot of that country, the portion that hadn't been cut prior to that by Crowfoot and Norman and Rocker. And I always remember the logging camps there. Louis Holland was, and his wife he was the foreman, and his wife was the cook there on when Strife cut the hardwood. And that was up in one of the old softwood camps there on the head of Twin Sister Creek. And boy, you had to be in there for dinner. I think it was 11:30, I believe, and boy, you didn't want to be 1 minute late. We'd be out there on the skidways, and we'd come in. Louis said it's time to go, so we'd get in there, and boy, those meals were delicious, and that camp was spotless. You could have eaten right off the floor. And most of the lumberjacks there were some of the old white Russians that came over after the Revolution, and Polish lumberjacks, and they never spoke a word. They were just as quiet, and they all had their own individual seats. And yet, the Frenchmen there up in a lot of the camps at Lyman, they were just the opposite. That was like an old woman's hen party there. They were just jabber all the while. They were completely different. Now Herb McGee, he had this was just prior to my time, but we still call that McGee's Ridge, and he had a logging camp in there, and they always said that was when they cut the softwood. They always said he had 3 crews. They were mostly St. Regis Indians. They liked their firewater pretty good. He said they always had 3 crews. He had 1 coming, and 1 going, and 1 working.
I remember one of the Indians he had, named Mike Mitchell. He was a college graduate. But this one particular time he got drunk, got down on the floor, and couldn't get up. People were making fun of him. And he begged for help to get up so he could go lick the guy who was picking on him.
I remember once when up in Township 5 when Rice Veneer, they had a contract for cutting all the first cut birch for their veneer mill at McKinney. And one time we were up there in Township 5, we were scaling logs and around there, and all went this is about 25 miles back in the woods there on the log road. Gee, this Frenchman came up, he kind of spoke broken English, and he came up and said, pardon me, but he was looking for Mr. Veneer. He really wanted Donald Rice, it was Rice Veneer. He thought his name was Mr. Veneer. Now, when Joe Splash, after George Calvin cut the softwood there on the Browns tract, and Strife cut part of the hardwood, then what was left is what we call Mormon Mountain. That's the western part of the Browns tract there of company lands. And Joe Kwasniewski cut that. And this Sam Dodge, who was a cook for him up at Limekiln on the Emerson Triangle, and then he cooked in there at McKeever. And it was interesting, he always claimed he liked his whiskey pretty good. He'd go out on a tear once in a while, but he always claimed, this especially reminds me now because of World Series time, he said that he pitched with the Boston Red Sox when Babe Ruth was there. He played with Babe Ruth. So I'd always like to kind of look that up in Cooperstown or someplace and just for the record, because I mean he was pretty honest. I don't think he was kidding. One of the best stories I think that about my brothers, Carl and Tubby, and I think it was Bud Dowling and Mickey Freeman.